Hey guys, Chris here from Carolot Farm. We have some very special things that we're doing around the farm, both in the garden and in our fruit zones, to help our plants be more prepared for the cold weather ahead. I want to take you around the farm today and show you a couple of winter or pre-winter preparations that we are doing and kind of give you some insight as to why and show you what we're up to these days. I'm doing something I've never done before, and this was at the recommendation of our local ag specialist at our extension office. You know, I have this sad fig tree. You might hear my husband, he's cutting, I think, boards for our front winter turnout. We're still working on that. But what I'm doing on this beautiful day is I'm taking some old hay that we have that unfortunately has spoiled. The hay was either baled when it was too damp, or we have a moisture issue in our hay barn. I'm not really sure which, but unfortunately we lost several bales that are no longer horse quality. So I'm shaking these flakes into this cage that I have that surrounds my fig tree. And the hope is that we can insulate the fig tree and help it better winter and hopefully come out in better shape in the spring. So we'll see, first time for everything. After shaking in a flake of hay, I'm coming back with my pitchfork handle, and I'm just working to gently compress the hay a little bit more, and that way it will hopefully provide a slightly warmer insulation barrier for that little fig tree beneath that has been having a really hard time these last few winters. Another upside to just covering the fig with the hay is it will continue to get moisture as it rains and as we have some snow melting throughout the winter months. So that'll be good for the plant. Again, as it starts to wake up in the springtime, it'll certainly need that extra moisture. So I think packing it with the hay for now is all it needs. If it looks like we have a really cold spell, you know, down single digits for any length of time, I might think about also putting a garden cloth over this to give that extra added barrier and protection. But I think for right now, our relatively mild winters, this should be just fine. I have a small tender lilac bush here that, similar to my fig tree, has grown, but very slowly. And the winters, I think, are especially hard on it. And so it also has a cage around it, just like that fig. And as I have all the extra hay, I'm gonna pack my plant here. And I'm also going to use my hay, and I'm going to pack my blueberries that I planted earlier in the spring. They're still really small and just really tender little plants. And so I think as much insulation and extra assistance as I can give, the better. Here on the farm, we have a total of 8 blueberry bushes. We have these first 2 that are quite larger and more substantial. We've had these now for at least 3 years. This past spring, though, we planted several more little itty-bitty blueberry sprigs. They didn't grow a whole lot over the summer. There might even be 2 that didn't make it through the summer, but I've gone ahead, I've insulated all of them, and hopefully they'll make it through the winter and then bounce back in the springtime and be all the better for it. So we're gonna give them every chance we can. If you have ever done something similar to kind of protect and preserve your fruit bushes, let us know, because we're really curious as to how best to help these little plants, but fingers crossed this will do the trick. Out here in our late fall, I'm gonna say winter garden, we still have cabbages growing, and then we have broccoli and cauliflower in the back. Now, it was nice and sunny earlier this morning, and so I uncovered these vegetables because when we get these warm days, especially with like a good warm sun, it's nice to uncover everything to help the growth. So now that it's getting cloudy, we're expecting some rain this afternoon and into the evening, and it will be getting colder. So I'm gonna cover everything back up, and that way it's nice and protected when it is cold. But when it's warm and sunny, we wanna give everything the best chance to grow, which is why we have to kind of do this on again, off again thing with our covers. I want to share these covers we have. They're cloth, and these green ones came from our local garden store. They're really sturdy. I've bought some white ones before that seemed thinner, and they seem to deteriorate a lot faster. So I'm really happy with these green ones. They were gifted to me by my father, and they're holding up really well. But I have said before in other videos, Our cats can be really hard on them because they love to climb under the cloths, on top of the cloths. As the cloths start to kind of rip, they go through the cloths. So my covers, you know, my frost blankets don't usually last me more than a few seasons, but I'm still really thankful to have them, and I'm really grateful that these are currently in pretty good shape still. You may have noticed I still have the netting covering my cabbages as well as my broccoli and cauliflower over there. And for kind of two reasons. One, I don't know how much longer into the year the groundhog may or may not try to come back, so everything is protected from the groundhog. But because my cats do like to jump on top of my garden patches here, my garden beds, the extra netting that's there between the top and the plants helps to protect the poor little plants from the weight of the cats. So it's kind of a multi-prong approach here, but if you're wondering, that's why I have this netting here. And I really like to use these really small little alligator clips. They're the perfect thing to hook my netting to my metal planters. So I'm a big fan of these, and I just wanted to share that because if you're like us and you have cats or critters, you might want to keep the netting under your frost blankets. Now that I've just finished covering my last bed here, I do have to put little pieces of lumber, kind of trimming it so that it helps to hold down the cloth. Or in the case of my broccoli and cauliflower, I'm using more of those alligator clips to actually hold the cloth to the netting so it doesn't billow when the wind blows. But now let's go and do something else because I have other plants on the farm. I want to show you some of the winter preparations that we're doing for them. Our birdhouse gourds here, these are the last few that are still on the vine. I think I just counted we have 12 to 15 of these. And that's not counting the pile of them that we cut earlier in the fall that are now drying under the carport. But these can just kind of finish out drying here as we head into winter. You know, this one is completely dry. I could probably just go ahead and pick this one today. But the rest of them, there's room on the vine and they're doing their job. So I'm gonna leave them here and they'll just kind of keep wintering. And once they have finished drying, we'll go ahead and officially pick them, and that will be that for the season. My last kind of pre-winter task here on the farm today is to trim our blackberry bushes. I have a lot to learn about blackberries, but from what I've gathered from some of our local specialists, what I have here are blackberries that grow on this 2-year growth cycle. They have first year growth and second year growth. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, both first and second years will produce, but after year 2, the vines will start to dry up and die off like these. And we want to go ahead and remove them and make way for new growth to come in the spring. So make sure you know what kind of blackberries you have and what the trimming and pruning practices are for them before you start going at them. But from what I've gathered, today is the day to go ahead and trim off this stuff here. I came out here with a very small pair of handheld clippers, and although, you know, they might help me to trim off some of these little branches, some of these canes are so big and so thick down at the base that I'm gonna have to get a much larger pair of loppers. I mean, that cane down there towards the ground area, I mean, it's much bigger than my thumb around, and so there's no way these guys are gonna go at it. But I'll get a start. I'll do a little trimming. It's starting to rain on me, so we'll see. I might have to come back another day, but this time of year is a good time to go ahead. If you haven't already trimmed your blackberries, go ahead and get them trimmed before winter really sets in. So all that we have left now is the new growth from this year. It'll come back next year, along with new shoots and new sprigs that will be in their first year when this year is in their second year. So right now my blackberries are in really good shape for the winter. I might need to come back and do a little more trimming of some of the really long branches. But again, I'm not exactly sure how much to take off, and because I'm kind of new to blackberry trimming, I do want to double check before I take too much. But today we got a great start to winterizing our blackberries. Thank you so much for joining me today as we work to kind of get things in tip-top shape heading into winter. Hope you have a great one. Stay warm, stay dry, and check back soon. Hope to see you in the future. Bye guys.